When you spend 2 decades wearing a motorcycle club patch, serving in leadership, and half a century raised in the life, among some of the largest organizations on record, there are several life lessons to be learned. This is one of those lessons. The entire spectrum of motorcycle clubs exists off of a hierarchy of who's the biggest bully. I've often described the three-piece patch club world as a place that the schoolyard bully grew up and found somewhere to exist. Add to that the conflicting sentiment of, this is our territory and you didn't ask permission to be here, versus real one percenters don't ask permission for anything. Well, we had a beef with a one percenter chapter that was escalating over time. In fact, this very chapter ended up promoting a $10,000 bounty on my patch, my state VP number 2's patch, and on my state warlord and bodyguard. Of course, they would publicly deny it, but I knew it to be true. If you're wondering how I knew factually that the bounty was put out on us, I'll tell you. You see, we worked very hard at not just earning but maintaining the respect of other clubs that we came into contact with. And I can tell you the secret to earning and maintaining respect. Let this be lesson 1 of this episode. You earn the respect of other clubs by saying what you will do and then doing what you say, good or bad. You don't throw out meaningless threats and then not deliver on them. But you also don't make deals and shake hands across the table and then violate that handshake by doing exactly what you said you wouldn't do. This has proven to be the most valuable asset in my entire life in a patch. When the bounty was put out on us, a couple of things happened that they weren't aware of. First of all, during the actual conversation about putting the bounty out on us, at a meeting in a particular clubhouse of this one percenter club, there happened to be a citizen doing business with someone else inside that clubhouse at the same time. The meeting was being held in a separate room, and he really wasn't paying attention to what was being said at first. A couple of names were brought up in the meeting that tuned his ear to the room. When somebody said my name and my number 2's name in that conversation, it perked his attention. You see, he just so happened to know my number 2's old lady, and so naturally he listened to what they were saying. So literally, before their meeting even ended, when this person had left that clubhouse, he had already made a call, and we knew about it, before the rest of their organization even knew about it. And the validation of what that person had told us he had overheard in the meeting came later the very same day, when 2 of our members from opposite ends and in different chapters within the state had received phone calls from other small clubs who had been considered friends of that one percenter club. You see, even though our club may never have been the largest in numbers in comparison to some, we had a well-earned, notorious reputation for being extraordinarily brutal, because the brothers that came before us over the past 50 years had to fight for every inch of existence, and had done so in some of the most vicious ways you could imagine. So when these smaller clubs were motivated by the one percenter club to participate in this bounty, they instead contacted our members that they had a relationship with, not just to tell us about the bounty, but to tell us that they had no plans of participation in that plan, and they wanted us to know that. I told one of the one percenter club's national leaders when I spoke to him about this bounty, and he pretended not to know or that it didn't exist. When he asked me why I thought this was true, I said because some clubs that you consider a support club, or at the very least a club that supports yours, only does so because they are afraid of you, not because they like or respect your club. And you should understand that respect forced by intimidation is not real earned respect. I even called the regional leader whom I knew to be responsible for this bounty on the phone and called him out on it. I told him this: if you want my patch so badly, then come and get it yourself. What do you want to do? Meet at some schoolyard somewhere and duke it out like schoolyard boys? Are we using knives or chains or bats or fists or what? You might take me because you're a stout little fucker, and I'll make you a deal. If you can beat me up and take my patch, you can have it. But then you get to try and keep it, and explain to the rest of my nation when they come at yours why you have it. Because I'd rather lose it face to face than by you motivating some tweaker in some subservient nobody club to shoot me in the back on my bike at a traffic light. Because see, we both know you're not going to pay the bounty when someone shows up at your door with my bloody rags to collect it. You're going to deny it and probably kick his ass for accusing you of it, but I'll already be shot, and that doesn't work for me. He never really denied that the bounty existed. He just argued his point as to what his beef was with me, but he didn't agree to meet me. So I told him this too. Understand this. I have returned the favor. If this bounty is executed, I have instructed my people that you are the #1 target, and by all means necessary, deliver retribution. Moving forward, it's probably in your best interest that I don't even get into a motorcycle accident and get hurt, because it might be seen as an intentional event caused by your irresponsibility. You want to hear some irony in this whole situation? About 50 years before this happened, the exact same thing happened to my old man Lightning when he was in the Aces, by the exact same club. The difference being is that at the time, that particular chapter sent thugs to his apartment to get his patch, and he wasn't home. So they pistol whipped his roommate, went into his closet, and stole a set of patches, instead of confronting him head on. What a bunch of bitches. And then, fast forward about 2 years later, I hang my patch up for the final time because I had enough of the bullshit. Not just from other nations, but from my own leadership. And lo and behold, who calls me about 3 days later once he found out? The very regional leader who had put the bounty on me. He was mainly just being nosy as to why me and every state officer and half the warlords all left the nation, and if I had any plans for going anywhere else. I said I have no plans, but only time will tell, right? And he said to me, I know we've had our differences, but I respect you and I hope you give us a consideration should you decide to ever put a patch on your back in the future. I said, you've had a bounty on me for the last 3 years, and you're telling me that if I want to put a patch back on, that I should come down there and be your brother? And he said yes. And I said, okay, I'll think about it. But what the hell do I know? I'm just Tabasco the Biker. Keep it real.
In the club life you get one shot.